All right, everybody, welcome into another episode of the College Court Report podcast. I am your host, Tyler Bennett. It is a new year. We are now officially over a week into 2018. Hopefully, everybody had a great holiday season, a good Christmas with family and friends, a good new year, and ready to take on bigger and better things in 2018. It's been about 2 weeks since we've launched a podcast from College Court Report. With the holiday season and whatnot, it's been tough to coordinate schedules, but we are back, and we had a meeting over the holiday season to kind of plan out our digital coverage, I guess, or your media coverage for the new year in terms of the podcast and what we're going to offer. And Monday, January 8th, marks a new beginning, in a sense, for the podcast. We are going to do 3 recordings a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We're going to offer a little bit different things every time we record. Mondays will be with me, myself, and I. We're going to look at the smaller schools, avoid the power conferences as much as possible, kind of shed a little bit of extra light on the other conferences around the NCAA, the ones that don't get enough love from the national media. So that'll be Mondays, focusing on smaller schools. Wednesdays, we'll look at more of a recruiting, player progression, player development, look at different coaching styles. That'll be with myself and Nico Wright. Big Nico will join me on Wednesdays to go over that. And then on Friday, it'll be myself and Ryan Scarfone. We're going to be looking at the NCAA as a whole. We won't shy away from any team, any topic. I'm going to look at some hot takes, some games to watch, some news headlines, a lot of the mainstream stuff, and then point out a few other things along the way as well. We'll see what happens on a week-by-week basis, and that'll plan out what we decide to talk about. So that, again, Mondays will be like a small school focus, looking at teams and players outside of the power conferences. Wednesday, with myself and Nico, we'll look at player progression, player development, recruiting, NBA draft, coaching styles, things along those lines. More of an X's and O's kind of talk. And then on Friday, myself and Ryan, we will dive into make some hot takes, some games to watch for the week ahead, and some national headlines. The only thing we will not talk about, I can guarantee that right now, is LeVar Ball, LaMelo Ball, LiAngelo Ball, Lonzo Ball. That whole Ball family will be off limits. So if you are listening for hot takes on the Ball family, you're in the wrong spot. Sorry to let you down, but that's how we're going to progress. And with the way the news will play out, we may talk about similar things on Monday and Friday, or Wednesday and Friday. Topics might cross over a bit, just to give a second perspective on different topics from around the country. So stay tuned for that as we get ready to launch that this week, starting today on Monday, with the first podcast that focuses on smaller schools from around the country. And as we get into today's little chat, it'll be a quick one today. Conference play is now in full swing for conferences across the country. I think there's maybe a handful of teams who haven't played their first conference game yet. We're looking at North Carolina A&T up in the MEAC. They still haven't played a game yet in conference play, but that'll come soon enough. We've seen a lot of upsets across the board. Level of parity in the NCAA this season is at, I'd say, an all-time high. You've got any team has a chance to win on any given night, and I think that's what you want in the college basketball world. It makes things that much more exciting, and it's not as predictable as, say, the NBA is. So it's nice to see different teams winning, proving the preseason polls and the preseason voters wrong, in a sense, in their conferences. We'll touch on that, especially in the Southland Conference. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. But we're going to start off with the America East. And through 2 games for most teams, it's been an interesting one, to say the least. You've got the Vermont Catamounts 2-0, as expected, going to be the top team in the conference again, the team to beat. They've done so without Anthony Lamb. who's missed the last 3 games due to injury, and it's unclear as to when exactly the star sophomore will be back in the lineup. But you've got Vermont at 2-0, one of 2 teams. The second team at 2-0 in the America East, the Stony Brook Seawolves. Stony Brook, 7-9 on the season. They are now 2-0 in conference play. They've got wins over Maine and Hartford to open things up. Their last 3 wins, they're 3-1 in their last 4 games. Their 3 wins have all come on buzzer beaters. They beat Rutgers in the final seconds on the road. They beat Maine at home in the final seconds, and then they went on the road and beat Hartford in the final seconds. So they have flirted with danger on seemingly the last 5 games have all been single digits, I think. It's interesting to see that they've been able to skirt the edge of danger and losing on such a consistent basis and come out with 3 wins over a 5-game stretch, one of them coming on the road against a Big Ten team. That's impressive. I don't care who you are. You have to acknowledge the fact that they have proven that they have the ability to hit those big shots at the end of games. And it probably causes a lot of stress to their fans and coaches alike. But when you come away with a win, I think the stress level is worth it in the end. Akwasi Yeboah, sophomore guard, is averaging 15.4 points, 4.9 rebounds, leads the team in scoring. He's actually the only player on the Seawolves this season averaging double-digit points per game. So it'll be interesting to see if they can keep up this recent trend. They only are 2 games in, 2-0. It's a hot start, but let's not overreact too early and say that they're going to be the team that knocks Vermont off the pedestal in the America East. But the Seawolves do have a lot of depth on their roster as well. They have 7 guys through the first 16 games of the season who average 7 points per game or more. And even though Yeboah is the only one that averages double digits, when you have 6 other guys who are averaging between, I think it's like 7 and 9.5 points, 9.8 points, that's good balance. So you take that, you use it, shows that the coaching staff has a lot of trust in their group, and they can roll out different guys on a regular basis and get those different lineups in, give some guys some rest, and the offense can still click at a high clip. So it's they're a team that you should kind of keep an eye on as the America East play unfolds. Being 2-0, I mean, Hartford and Maine, not the strongest teams in the conference. I mean, Hartford arguably has the best guard trio in the conference, but picking up a win on the road, no less, for Stony Brook is a thing, is a positive in my books. So keep an eye on Stony Brook as they move forward. But then, like I said, Vermont 2-0 without Lamb. They have 4 straight wins. They picked up their 22nd straight win against UMBC in their last time out, 71-56. Trey Bell Haynes is playing like the America East Player of the Year that he was season ago, 11.5 points, 4 rebounds, just shy of 5 assists a game. Ernie Duncan, sharpshooter, 43% shooting from 3-point range, 12.4 points a game. Even without Lamb, the Catamounts have a ton of options on offense. They really haven't skipped a beat since he went down 3 games ago. But obviously he's a big piece, and over the 16-game grind that is conference play, they're going to miss a guy of his caliber at some point, especially if his injury lasts throughout the entirety of conference play. That could really hinder them and hinder their depth down the stretch, especially if they get another injury to a forward as things unfold. But as of right now, even without Lamb in the lineup, they are clicking. They are clearly the team to beat in the America East, like we all thought at the start of the season. But as we all know in college basketball, anything can happen on any given night, and it's never safe to rule out any team. And like I keep saying, we're 2 games in. You can't overreact. You can't you can't really put a big emphasis on 2 wins because winning your first conference game versus winning your last conference game, they're different animals altogether. There's a lot more pressure towards the end of the year. You're playing for your seeding in the conference tournament and a bunch of other scenarios. So you got Vermont at 2-0, Stony Brook at 2-0, a slew of teams with 1 win, and then at the bottom, surprisingly, through 2 games, you have the Albany Great Danes, the team that many predicted to be the team that could very well unseed Vermont at the top of the standings. They have lost 4 of their last 6 games. They have lost their first 2 in conference play, 72-64 defeat at home against Hartford, and then a 64-61 heartbreaker on the road at New Hampshire. The Great Danes are still 12-5 on the season, 0-2 conference play. Again, it's early. They have a ton of talent. They have the best backcourt duo in the conference, Joe Cremo and David Nichols. Cremo, 18 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. Nichols, 15.5 points, just over 4 rebounds, just over 3 assists a game. That duo do wonders for Will Brown and the Great Danes, and counting them out after 2 games would be ridiculous. I'm not saying that anybody is counting them out, but I'm willing to bet that this 2-game start has raised a few red flags for Albany fans. Don't panic. Don't panic just yet. You're 2 games in. They'll get it sorted out. They know what it takes to win. They know what it takes to win in the America East. They will be right there near the top when the regular season comes to an end and the postseason tournament gets underway. And realistically, them going maybe 12-4 in conference play isn't out of the question. Tough games against Vermont to come, UMBC, and see how they bounce back from this 2-game losing streak to start, 4 losses in their last 6. But my gut says they figure this out. They can reel off a couple straight wins, go on a nice little winning streak here. They have a game with Stony Brook on the 10th, which would be Wednesday. That's their next time out. A big opportunity for them to knock off one of the last 2 undefeated teams in the conference and get that boost of momentum that they need to move forwards and really make some noise and live up to their potential that they had at the start of the season in the America East Conference. Another team, we're going to shift a little bit to the Sun Belt. Another team that many people pegged as a clear favorite in the Sun Belt Conference this year, the UT Arlington Mavericks. Like Albany, they started out slow. They picked up 2 losses in a row to open conference play. A blowout loss, which was kind of surprising, on the road at Coastal Carolina to open things up, 90-65, and then a comeback effort that fell a little bit short against Appalachian State, 80-76. But since then, they've got 2 straight wins. They picked up a win over Troy, 86-76, and you may remember the Troy Trojans represented the Sun Belt in the NCAA tournament last season, and then they just picked up a big win over South Alabama, 91-67, and it's been a record-setting couple of games for the Mavericks as Kalen Wilson became the 24th player in school history to reach 1,000 points, and Eric Neal, the star point guard, continues to rack up the assists. He is now tops in UT Arlington history with over 630 assists and counting. So the duo picked up those records this past week, and a pair of wins for the Mavericks. And again, this is one of those situations where don't panic too early. Winning on the road in college basketball is incredibly tough to do. I don't care who you are, what team you are, what conference you play in, what your national ranking is. Look at Sunday. Michigan State, the number 1 team in the country, went on the road and got hammered by Ohio State, 80-64. The key is you can't overreact too early in conference play. If this was towards the end of the year and a regular season title was on the line in the conference, they were trending towards the NCAA tournament, and then they lose a couple games to end conference play, then you think, okay, do they still have it when the tournament comes around? That's a different story. But to overreact on 2 games to start conference play, that's absurd. And as you can see, the last 2 games on their home floor, mind you, the Mavericks have picked up where they left off before the wins. They have strung together 2 great performances. Been impressed with Johnny Hamilton this year. 11.9 points, 7.6 rebounds, 2.1 blocks per game, alongside star forward Kevin Hervey, 21 points, 8.8 rebounds, 2.1 assists. That front court has really done well for the Mavericks this season, and the emergence of Hamilton alongside Hervey has kind of taken some of the attention away from Hervey and allowed him to do his thing inside. And then Hamilton's having an impact on both ends of the court, which really kind of takes that offense and defense to the next level for Scott Cross's team. And Scott Cross is one of the better coaches in college basketball, regardless of level. He gets the best out of his guys every single night. And you can bet that after those 2 losses to the Chanticleers and the Mountaineers, he had his team more than ready in practice for the next 2. And they came out and showed that in a big way with a 10-point win over the Trojans, and then a 24-point win over the Jaguars. So 2-2, 2 games back of first in the conference. Again, still early in the Sun Belt, and it's nicknamed the Fun Belt for a reason. And the next 6-7 weeks, as we approach March, 8 weeks, are indeed going to be fun in the Sun Belt. UT Arlington, I think, is still the favorite to win. The title goes through Arlington, and the Mavericks will have a big say in who comes away with the regular season title and the postseason title, because you can bet that they'll be waiting in the finals for somebody in the Sun Belt tournament, and they want to get to the NCAA tournament and make some noise and fill that role of Cinderella. And then to round it out, we've talked about teams that have had surprisingly poor starts. We head down to the Southland Conference, where a pair of teams have had surprising good starts. Starting out with, you've got 2 undefeated teams in conference play in the Southland. You've got 9 teams right now that sit at 2-2 or better. There's 13 teams 12 or 13 teams in the conference. You've got 9 that are 2-2 or better. That's fantastic through 3 or 4 games for most teams right now. At the top, you've got the New Orleans Privateers, who made it to the NCAA tournament last season. First 4-game loss to Mount St. Mary's. They didn't win a game against a Division I opponent this season until conference play started. And now they've rattled off 4 straight wins. They've taken down Abilene Christian and Lamar, who was my preseason pick to win the Southland. They took down Abilene Christian and Lamar at home, and then went on the road and picked up wins over Houston Baptist and McNeese State. Now they have a road game against Stephen F. Austin on Wednesday, which will be a big test for the Privateers to kind of see where they stack up against the best in the conference. But with the way they're playing right now, it's tough to see. It'd be interesting to see, actually, how far they can continue this streak. Like I said, they had 3 wins in non-conference play. None of them came against Division I opponents. Then they go and conference play kicks in, and then all of a sudden the Privateers are a different animal altogether and decide to rattle off 4 straight wins. Senior Travin Thibodeau is the only player averaging double figures, much like Stony Brook. Thibodeau's averaging 15.7 points, 5.9 rebounds, 2.9 assists, 1.3 steals, and 1.3 blocks per game. He stuffs the stat sheet on every given night for the Privateers, and he has that team firing on all cylinders. Last time out against McNeese, Bryson Robinson put up a career-high 31 points in the win, 7-point overtime win on Saturday. They're getting a bunch of different contributions from a lot of different guys, and that balance, much like Stony Brook, they have 8 guys that have played 15 games this season and average 4.1 points per game or better. That balance, that depth they have, given all they lost after last season, Chris Javius Gill among them, to see so many guys having such a positive contribution on the offensive end of the floor will really do wonders for the Privateers in conference play. I think they are a team that a lot of people wrote off before the season started, but they've shown through 4 games that they can contend and take down some of the top competition in the league with their win over Lamar, who sit at 2-2. And then again, it all comes back to this: don't overreact early. But New Orleans has given their fans a bit of a reason to overreact in a sense, based on their slow start, based on how slow they came out of the gate this season after an NCAA tournament appearance last year, to go off and win 4 straight to open conference play. They've put the rest of the Southland Conference on notice that, yeah, we lost a lot. Yeah, we struggled to start the season. But here we are still competing every single night. And we've won 4 straight. Who's going to be the one to stop us? Who's going to step up to that plate and end that streak? They've got the target on their backs now because teams want to be that one that ends a streak. They want to be the team that puts an end to a winning streak. And you can bet the Lumberjacks, who are, I think, a half game or a game behind, 3-1, I believe, in conference play right now. You can bet that they will give the Privateers everything they have, and they won't underestimate New Orleans on Wednesday night, because, as I said earlier, anything can happen in conference play. Anybody can win on any given night, especially this season. We've seen a lot of impressive wins by teams that most didn't give a chance to win before the game even started, which is why games are played. It's one thing to talk about them and predict who's going to win, but when games are played, anything can happen, and you can bet anything can happen on Wednesday. And don't be surprised if the Privateers go in to Stephen F. Austin on their home court and come away with their 5th straight win and assert themselves as the team to beat in the Southland Conference through 5 games. Another team, the second team that's undefeated, you got Southeastern Louisiana. Well, they were a trendy pick in the preseason leading up to the year as a team that could make some noise, catch some people off guard. They had injury concerns last year. Jordan Capps only played 2 games, and they missed a lot of guys last year. Now that they're healthy, they've won 3 straight. They're 9-7 on the year. They've got wins over Stephen F. Austin, the aforementioned Lumberjacks. They beat them at home to open conference play. They've got road wins over Central Arkansas and Abilene Christian on a 3-game road swing. They've got Lamar next on Wednesday as well. So they have another chance for a statement win, much like the Privateers. And now that they're healthy, Coach Jay Ladner and company are rolling in conference play. They are living up to the preseason hype that they had surrounding the program. They were, like I said, predicted to be kind of in that like trendy pick, maybe like 3 to 6 range preseason polls, but with a healthy roster and like a ton of balance again. 7 guys with 16 games played, at least 17 minutes, and then at least 4 points a game. So these guys are getting a lot of minutes. Everybody's contributing in a sense, some more than others, but Ladner has the faith in his guys to play them 17 minutes a game, and everybody's contributing in a sense. Everybody's giving them at least 4 points. That's the kind of balance you want. And, of course, you've got do-everything point guard Marlon Veal, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 5.3 assists, 1.8 steals. Then you've got Jordan Capps, who's back healthy, 12.8 points, 4 rebounds, shooting over 51% from the floor. It's amazing what a year can do for a team. Amazing. The Lions were bottom half team last year in the Southland. Fast forward to one season, and here they are through 3 games, sitting a half game out of first. as one of the last two undefeated teams in the conference. That win over the Lumberjacks kind of really sent a message, I think, to the Lumberjacks and the Southland Conference as a whole, saying that there might be a changing of the guard this year. The Lumberjacks have reigned supreme over the conference over the last several seasons, and I think this year is really the one where they aren't the clear-cut favorite. Yes, given their recent success, they are the team to beat, but there are a lot of teams in this conference with a lot of talent, and who knows? It's a crapshoot right now. It really is a crapshoot. It'll be a crapshoot when it comes down to the Southland tournament to see who wins. In a single elimination tournament, anything goes. Anything can happen. We've seen it several times in the last couple seasons where teams that come in ranked 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th in their respective conferences go on a run over a 3 or 4 day tournament and win the postseason title and advance to the conference tournament, or the NCAA tournament rather. So, yes, Stephen F. Austin is the team to beat based on their recent success, but through the first week and a half, 2 weeks of conference play, you've got to look at New Orleans and southeastern Louisiana and say, okay, these guys have come to play. They have picked up big wins over the top contenders. Preseason polls are just that. They're preseason polls. They're predictions of what could happen that are made 3 months, 4 months even, before conference play even begins. So to put a lot of into the rankings people give it's a bit unnecessary because things play out different ways every year, and sometimes people predict it right, luck of the draw, sometimes they're way off. And I've been on both sides. You get predictions that are bang on, you get some where it's basically flipped. You never know what's going to happen, but I think out of the gate through 4 games and 3 games respectively, New Orleans and southeastern Louisiana have shown the rest of the Southland Conference that they are here to play. They are not to be taken lightly, and the next 6 weeks or 7 weeks of conference play are shaping up to be an exciting race to March, and then it'll lead to an even better NCAA tournament, which will all culminate in San Antonio, Texas. But with that, that'll end this week's chat. Again, Mondays will be with myself talking about the smaller schools, players from those teams, just anything outside the power conferences, just to kind of shed a little bit of extra light and love their direction. Wednesday will be myself and Nico Wright talking more recruiting, coaching styles, player development, X's and O's kind of stuff. And then Friday, myself and Ryan Scarfone will just break down anything and everything in the NCAA, with the exception of the Ball family. And as always, if you want to tweet us your questions, comments, concerns, pearls of wisdom, follow us on Twitter at College Court Report, CC_report. You'll find the link in the description below. But as always, thank you for tuning in. We will chat with you on Wednesday of this week. Enjoy the games this coming week. Let us know on Twitter what games you're looking forward to watching the most. And if anything else comes up, be sure to let us know. But if not, until Wednesday with myself and Nico, we'll chat with you then. Folks, have a great rest of your day, great rest of your Monday, and we'll talk to you soon. Cheers.